Hello everyone, welcome back to Diving into Doctor Who here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. Jeannine, you were very emotionally moved and kind of emotionally wound up as well by the Family of Blood two-parter last time. And I believe it would appear that you have remained emotionally intense in one way or another after today's two episodes as well, because, and I did warn you, I have been warning you for the longest time, this is banger after banger after banger of Doctor Who episodes now, and I think these two that we have to talk about today are probably the strongest two we've come across in one particular episode of Diving into Doctor Who so far. Obviously, the two-parter in itself last time was very, very strong, but here we have two distinctly different stories, both of which are absolutely exceptional, in my opinion. The second one, a setup to the main events of the finale of Series 3. And the first one we have to talk about today, one of the most famous Doctor Who episodes of the modern era. One of the most beloved episodes of Doctor Who of any era, really, and a particularly unique one in Stephen Moffat's return to writing for Series 3 as well. And you always know whenever he showed up to write an episode or two in that first Russell T Davies era that we are in now, it would always be quite a highlight of any given series, which is exciting. I'm very excited today to talk Blink and Utopia. Jeannine, we are feeling the intensity, though, are we not?
Yes. It's like you want conflict for interest, but this is too much conflict. I don't like it. Too many things just go very wrong. And it's in a place of like, how are we going to get out of this? Like, I do not see a way out of this. So, yes, I'm very panicked at the moment.
Well, this is namely, obviously, towards the end of the episode Utopia, the second episode we'll be talking about today, which is obviously a perfect cliffhanger of a three-part series finale that it ultimately is. I do actually want to say I don't quite remember exactly how little they discuss the Master in Utopia as well. They kind of just reveal him in there and then leave it at that. It'll be the next episode, obviously, which the next episode of Diving into Doctor Who will round out Series 3 entirely. We'll be talking the part 2 and part 3 of that finale arc, the sound of drums, and I can't remember what the actual last episode is called now off the top of my head, which is a little bit annoying, but it doesn't really matter. It's the Master's finale, which is the main point of all that. We will certainly get there. But Blink, which we do have to start on and spend a good deal of time talking about, I don't stand with this mentality that some Doctor Who quote-unquote fans may have, in that it's cool to not really like Blink that much anymore, and we have to be a bit revisionist on Blink, and actually just because it's so popular we should look past it and look to other things. We're not allowed to like it as much as we should. Of course we are. It's wonderful.
To like. Yes.
It might be too easy to like, but there's a reason it's too easy to like. It's the tightest, most perfect 45-minute script you could possibly wish for.
Yeah, and it gives you a character who you definitely would want to see again in this just kind of one-off situation. I guess I can kind of get where people are coming from, because I think you have that tendency, hence us creating a show to kind of break you out
Sure.
of that, with Morgan Hasn't Seen. So that was one of many reasons why you didn't watch the plethora of films you hadn't watched. So, yes, I guess I can kind of understand why, "Ugh, I don't wanna be like everyone else and pick the cool thing." But when it's that good, like, just let yourself like it. Like, it's not dumb to like something that's just inherently good.
Yeah, and obviously we'll be getting into exactly what makes Blink and of course Utopia so great episodes, such great episodes. Not only of series three, because they work well, obviously, in the grand scheme of series three itself, anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but just on their own, they can be wonderful, wonderful episodes of
Mhm.
Doctor Who. Let's give a bit of a synopsis of Blink then, because obviously it does also introduce a particularly famous Doctor Who monster that I will admit does overstay its welcome after a certain length of time and keeping bringing this particular monster
Ooh,
back,
really?
because they just get a bit silly with it, really.
Yeah.
They get a bit
Okay.
too overbearing with it.
Mm.
But certainly how they are depicted in Blink is absolutely perfect,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
In an abandoned house, the weeping angels wait. The only hope to stop them is a young woman named Sally Sparrow and her friend Larry Nightingale. The only catch, the weeping angels can move in the blink of an eye. To defeat the ruthless enemy with only half a conversation from the 10th Doctor as help, the one rule is this: don't turn your back, don't look away, and don't blink. Definitely not.
Mhm.
Never, ever blink. It's definitely one of the scariest
Yes.
episodes
Yeah,
had of Doctor Who.
visually, and, like, the tense of, trying not to do all of those things. Yeah.
But I think the fascinating thing about the Weeping Angels is that they are visually terrifying, they are
Yeah.
conceptually terrifying. But when you think about what they actually do to you if they catch you, this is explained by the Doctor in this
Yeah.
episode, of course, is if they touch you, if they catch you, they just send you back in time. They don't kill you, they
Yeah.
send you back in time to live to death, which is how
Yeah.
the Doctor describes it. Um, you no longer exist in the time you did.
That
You
you were
do
yeah,
still exist. You just
in a
exist
completely different
however
time.
long
Yeah.
ago, a completely different time, however long ago they are seemingly
Decide to send you.
deciding to send you back
Yeah.
um, to then feed on the time energy that you have left behind through
Yeah.
no longer being in the present day, because this is how
Yeah.
they feed, this is what they need. Visually, obviously, they are very, very creepy. They are stone
Yeah.
angel statues.
Yeah.
And I do think, particularly, the very end of this episode speaks to the horror of it all absolutely perfectly by
Yeah.
giving you all those still images of random statues that you might see here and about the town or in the
Yeah.
nearest city or things like
Mhm.
that. Any stone statue could be an
Could
angel,
be.
so
Yeah.
just watch out is basically what
Yes.
it's trying to say. But it's so wonderful in doing that. It
Mhm.
creates such a phenomenal tension and yeah, as a story, it's completely singular. It's completely on its own. The Doctor and Martha, it's a Doctor Light story, obviously. The Doctor and Martha do
Are
appear in the
trapped.
episode, but
Yes, but they're
they,
trapped in a certain decade and they can't get out because
yeah,
they don't have the TARDIS. So it's up to Sally to kind of work within this time constraint of getting information in these pieces because of how things work in this episode. And get that to the doctor somehow to communicate with him and figure out what's really going on and how to stop it. So, yeah, it's like a puzzle, it's like a bit of an investigation. The time travel stuff is really interesting, and then we're getting a very creepy, scary villain, and we're also seeing them work within their bounds to make something practical look really good as well. Because they
Yeah.
could have used crazy wonky CGI for these things, but it felt like they did a lot of it practically, which I think still worked. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look, they keep it very small scale. They set it in mostly the abandoned house, which is where
Yeah.
the angels are hanging out. The angels are staying. There's 4 angels we see in this particular episode. It doesn't get more than that. Until a certain point in Doctor Who's lore where it becomes a stupid amount of angels and then you get a
Oh
bit
god.
silly with it. But just 4 angels do so much terrifying work
Mhm.
in
Yeah.
this episode. You've been aware of the concept of the weeping angels before seeing this episode.
Yes.
I'm sure I don't think it could have been
Yeah.
avoided, really.
No, no, no. I was familiar with the concept of this episode and these creatures, but I didn't have really any context for them.
Yeah, and obviously I do think the Doctor's TV screen messages in this movie are particularly interesting to me. I think this hits the Stephen Moffat-esque time travel mix-ups that absolutely perfectly, because Stephen Moffat in his own show-running era, which would start
Yeah.
with Matt Smith's and go into Peter Capaldi's Doctor, tended to, when he was showrunner and had all the power, as it were, really loved all this timey-wimey stuff, as we always get that famous Doctor Who saying from this episode as well,
Yeah.
wibbledy-wobbledy, timey-wimey,
Yeah.
ball of mess and all this business. He tends to go a bit extra with trying to be too timey-wimey about it, and
Yeah.
time isn't linear at all. Time is just a big ball of here it goes everywhere,
Yeah.
not quite knowing what's where. This, for my money, is an absolutely perfect way of doing it because it doesn't overcomplicate the time travel
Yeah.
aspect of the Doctor himself, but it doesn't overcomplicate the time travel aspect of the
This episode.
angels
Yeah. Yeah.
and of this episode, because Sally is a great singular character, yeah, but she has so much influence without knowing on her own story, because obviously, ultimately, all the little clues she's finding throughout the whole episode come to be revealed have been told to the Doctor by her after going through it all.
Yeah.
And obviously it's all then trying to figure out, well, how can that be? But
Yeah.
if you don't think about it too much, it's
It
really
makes sense.
it does make sense, and it's really quite smart. It's
Mhm.
really interesting, very, very satisfying as an episode as well. What do we think of Sally as a character, though? Wonderfully played by Carey Mulligan, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, no, she was great. Like, I loved her, really kind of running into the fire of things, really kind of adapting quickly to stuff and not spending a lot of time, like, in the confusion of it. She would, have her questions, but then immediately kind of adapt to what she needed to do and jump into the action of things. So I like when we have a character who's going into these fantastical, weird things, but manage to really just get into the mix of it as opposed to just spending the whole episode questioning everything and being
Yeah.
confused and just kind of shouting and like help me kind of situation. She ends up becoming very resourceful and really becoming a bit of a detective in trying to investigate why this is happening, how it's happening, and really rolling with things well. So I loved her in this episode for sure.
Yeah, because it definitely starts quite creepily, and I'm not even just talking about the opening necessarily, but when Sally is exploring this old abandoned manor
Mhm.
house,
Yeah.
and sees the writing underneath the peeling wallpaper on the wall of "Beware the Weeping Angels.
Mhm.
Sally Sparrow, duck now from the Doctor." You know, it's
Yeah.
all we see that and think, "Oh, okay, well,
No,
what's
yeah.
message is the Doctor leaving here? What's going on
Yeah.
here?" She's a bit confused by it, but does, as you say, kind of dig herself right into it.
Yeah,
Doesn't
immediately
run
wants to go
away.
back there the next day with her
Yeah.
friend and figure out what it's about, you know?
And when she does go back there with a friend, obviously, this is when I think it does get slightly terrifying and the
Yeah,
severity of the angels do become obvious.
yeah.
Because while she's there with her friend, we get a knock at the door, and this strange suited man turns up with a letter and saying,
Yeah.
"Are you Sally Sparrow? I was told to give you this letter at this exact time, at this on this exact date. Here it is. My grandmother left me this
Yeah.
letter."
Yeah, made me
Um,
promise to give it to you. Yeah.
and
This is
this
her
letter
dying
turns
wish.
out her
Yeah.
dying wish. Yeah, this letter turns out to be from the very friend she's just gone into the house with.
Yes.
So how's
And
that
she's
work? Because we
exactly, yeah,
see
and she's
the angels go and touch the friend, don't we? And
and
then we see the friend wake up in 1920,
yeah.
still in her clothes that she was wearing in 2007,
Yeah,
but
very confused, but she ends up settling and making a life for herself, having kids, you know, and so Sally ends up looking through these old-timey pictures, and here's her explanation of, you know, "For me, it's been decades. For you, it was just a minute ago that you saw me.
yeah,
This is my family. I named my youngest after you, of course," and ended up just living her life out in the 1920s on. Until she died and had her grandson have to deliver this. So, yeah, we're already jumping into some weird time stuff and it's very intriguing. We're sucked in immediately. Like, how does this work? What is going on here? And I like that we see kind of different, it's not, I like learning that it's not specific the time that they throw these people into, it's different every
yeah.
time. So just a really interesting concept in terms of time travel for sure.
Because we don't actually see the angels attack the
Mm-mm.
friend at all. We just see her go into a different room and
Yeah,
then never see her again until she ends up waking
mm,
up in this field in 1920.
yeah,
Um, the angels only, we only really see the angels and their attack strategy slightly later on
yeah,
when Sally returns to the house with friend's brother, Larry, who was mentioned in the synopsis, who's a
yeah.
weird sort of character, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's a bit of an obsessive character. He's found these messages from the doctor, this half a conversation that the doctor seems to be having. He obviously doesn't know who the doctor is. Nobody
yeah,
knows who the doctor is in this
yeah,
episode. He just sees this strange man on a small variety of DVDs because he
yeah.
works in a DVD
DVD
store because it's
store, yeah,
2007,
yeah,
which is a wonderful thing, isn't it? Really, I
yes,
mean,
yeah,
DVD stores are a fantastic place. Um, but he is one of those very strange, insular sort of people who would
yeah,
work in the back room of a DVD store, checking that there's no cuts or scratches on the DVDs and
yes.
sifting through each and every bonus feature possible. Um, Looking like he hasn't had a shower in about 3 weeks.
Pretty
But
shaggy looking, yeah.
very, very shaggy looking. But they go back, the two of them go back to the house, obviously, when it seems to be a bit strange because Sally's seeing these videotapes, these DVD tapes of the doctor having this half conversation a couple of times. She saw it
Mhm.
in
Her
her
friend's
friend
house,
and Larry's house
yeah,
because Larry had had all these TVs set up in the living room, all with the
with those
doctor's
tapes
face
going,
on.
yeah,
She sees it then at the back of Larry's DVD. store, and it seems one or two sentences fit with the conversation Sally's having with the
Yeah,
TV, with the doctor on the TV, and it's a bit strange. It
yeah,
weirds her out a little bit. She needs to know more about who this guy is, what these what this video is,
yeah,
and how it all seems to fit in. Why is it only on these specific DVDs?
yeah.
17, I think it
Mhm.
ends up being. Weirdly enough, it ends up being the 17 DVDs that Sally owns, to which Larry says, "What? You only own 17 DVDs?" And he's very
Yes.
offended about that.
Yes.
And I agree with Larry at that point. I would be
Yeah,
very
right.
offended to know that anybody owned 17
Only 17.
DVDs
Yeah.
as well. Um, but later on, obviously, when they go back there, it becomes very, very intense with the angels. Sally ends up having a full transcripted conversation with the
Conversation with the
doctor
doctor, but it seems like he can hear
over
her and he's
tape,
answering her. Yeah. All while
wondering,
Larry
obviously, how the hell that's happened.
Yes, and Larry starts transcribing what she's saying, and then she starts to realize that, like, his transcription is what the doctor will ultimately have in the future
Yeah.
to know how to respond.
In the
And so
future, but in
she's
the past, because we must remember the doctor is in 1969 when
exactly.
sending these messages across. It's very
Yes.
timey-wimey.
Yes, and so he tells her, "I'm reading off a transcribed, I have the transcription of what you're supposed to say, so I know everything you're going to say, and I'm responding, in that way." And she's like, "How can you have this transcription as he's writing it?" So it's very kind of, confusing, but
Yeah.
interesting, as it's kind of all happening, simultaneously, but yet in the past, but in the future, and yeah, it's crazy.
What about the little romantic subplot in this episode with
Yeah.
Sally, though, which I think is one of. I mean, we had an interesting romance plot, obviously, in the Family of Blood,
Yeah,
two-parter with the Doctor's human counterpart, John Smith, and Jessica Hines,
mhm.
which was very strong from John
Yes.
Smith's perspective, but we don't like it as the Doctor
No.
necessarily. Um, which is interesting. But I really think Sally and Billy in this episode is such a phenomenal way of writing a romance with so little time to
Yes.
actually develop anything. How does it feel this impactful? How does it feel this strong? How does it feel like
Emotional,
they've
yeah.
got this much
History
exactly this
together.
much emotional, this much history, this much chemistry,
Yeah.
this much affection for each other, while there's hardly any time devoted to this couple and how Billy plays into it because he's a detective. He has been searching the weirdness going on at this
That
old manor
house.
house. All
Yes,
these
he has
cars that have had people abandoned, people have
yes.
disappeared,
The
and he
TARDIS
has
is
the
in police
TARDIS.
yeah, in police custody, but they can't seem to get it open. They've tried different keys, it's not working. Um,
Sally
and
gets a key from the angels, actually, doesn't he? She picks a key
yes,
up from one of the angels previously in the episode, so kind of
yes.
realizes after a while that,
It
oh,
must
damn,
be
this might be the key.
for this thing, yes, and so he's asking, like, what her involvement in all of this and what does she know, but he also is kind of attracted to her, so he's, like, calling her, like, pretty girl or, telling her she's hot and, like,
Yeah,
asks for her number, and they have this kind of flirty exchange, and so she does give him her number, and he's like, "I'm gonna call you," and she's like, "You better call me," and so it's really cute, this whole exchange, but then he does get taken by the angels and sent into the 1960s where the Doctor and Martha are. Um,
yes.
and
Sits
so
with him,
then
and they sit with him for 2 minutes, don't they, and explain
yes,
to
and they
him what's
tell him
happened.
yes, and so they tell him, It's gonna be some time, but you need to hold on to this message and get it to Sally Sparrow." And so in her time, it seems like immediately that this guy is calling her and she's excited, but then she's like, "Where are you?" And she goes to the hospital, and he's sick and dying and old. And
Yeah.
so he's having to explain to her. So she's already seen like an example of this. So she, it's easy for her to kind of adapt to what's going on, but it's very sad because this looked like a bright little spot in her future. And now it's already, gone for her. And so, and she feels for this man who also kind of lost this opportunity, and had
Yeah.
to kind of change his whole course of life. And
I
so
mean,
he
in the
tells
matter
her,
of half an hour of Sally's day,
yeah,
this has changed.
because he says, and it's like such a crazy thing to just kind of correlate the time when he says it was raining when we met, and she says it's the same rain because it's
Yeah.
literally just minutes from when they met. Um, so heartbreaking, and so he delivers the message that he needs to tell her, and he says, "I was delivering this, the right way," and so she, like, agrees to stay there with him and just takes his hand, and he tells her she's still hot, and it's like,
Yes. As an old
s
dying man.
yes, so very sweet, but really sad, but how they managed to, like, pack in just this really impactful emotional moment, in such a short time, I think was so well executed.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, another example of this era of Doctor Who, um, punching for the interracial relationships as well,
Mhm.
which is fun, I suppose, isn't it?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, definitely.
they
Yes.
always like it. Everybody seems to be in
We
a
like to mix
black
it up a
man,
little
white
bit.
woman relationship.
Yeah. Yes, right? Yeah, so we appreciate the diverse mixing of people, especially in today's
Well, yeah,
tumultuous
but this isn't
climate.
today, is it? This was 20 years ago.
I am aware, so it's just like to see that, like, that time,
Yeah.
and how we've reverted somehow,
And
like,
nobody caring, Janine, and
yeah,
nobody actually caring because it
yeah.
works really, really well,
Exactly.
really
Yes.
beautifully romantically.
Yeah.
Um, but Billy makes his very, very emotional impact in this episode, in obviously relaying this more information to
Another
Sally,
clue for her.
exactly. Another clue, exactly, telling her much more about the Doctor
Mhm.
himself, which obviously then leads to figuring out the video messages and actually having this transcript conversation, which
Yeah.
takes place in the abandoned house after Sally and Larry do return back there. And then the angels turn up, don't they? The angels come in from the garden because this is where the Doctor gives it his whole don't look away, don't blink, very, very
Yeah.
tense, very stern
Yeah.
message. It is wonderfully tense. The
Yeah.
whole don't blink monologue is
Yes.
so,
So
so
good.
great.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is where the angels become truly, truly terrifying because they begin to realize they're not actually looking at the angels at the moment. They can't see the angel. You looked away from the angel. Let's look
They're
back to the
getting
angel. Oh
closer.
my God, it's moved.
Yes. And as it gets closer and you do look away and it's in front of you again, now the face has turned scary because a lot of
Yeah,
times when we saw them, they were hiding their faces because we learned that if they look at a living thing, that's what
yeah.
turns them to stone and that whole kind of thing.
They can't
Um,
even look at each other,
And they can't even
which is
tell
a big point.
exactly, exactly. So that's why we saw them covering their eyes for most of the time, but when you look away, and look back again, now their faces become terrifyingly like crazy
Yes.
teeth, open mouth, almost screaming at you, clawed hands reaching for you. So I loved kind of how we get this in flashes, so you're getting this very cool practical thing, but you don't have to do a lot of animating and it still works, It doesn't have
Yeah,
to it can be these stagmented movements, and still be very effective because of, like,
yeah.
it's a stone statue. So, yeah, that worked really well.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, the angels have acquired the TARDIS as well, but they no
Yeah,
longer have the key because Sally took the key from them. The angels
yeah,
originally had the key but didn't have the
yeah,
TARDIS because it was at the police station. But now the angels, because they go and attack Billy and send Billy
Yeah.
back. Well, they have the TARDIS now, but now they no
Yeah.
longer have the key. So Sally has the
Yeah.
key, so they have to try and get the key back.
Yeah.
So the TARDIS ends up being in the cellar of the old abandoned house.
Yeah.
Sally goes to check. Wait a minute. Okay, so something must be going on down there. Leaves Larry not blinking, staring
As one is in front of
at
him.
the
Yeah.
angel,
Yeah.
forcibly staring at the angel. Which, I mean, at this point, knowing what I know about the next appearance of the Weeping Angels, which actually doesn't appear until Matt Smith's era.
Okay.
But in that, obviously at that point, Karen Gillan is his companion, Amy Pond. And what she does, which is very clever, is just shut one eye at a time to
Oh.
avoid blinking. So
Yeah.
she's like shutting just one eye at a time like that.
Okay.
So constantly looking, but keeping,
Yes,
you know,
keeping her eyes
enough,
lubricated. Yeah.
keeping her eyes lubricated. So I think once you've seen that, it's actually a really clever way of dealing with looking
With
at
this.
an angel.
Yeah.
You're wondering why Larry's just stood there going, "Oh God, I have to keep
Can't
my
blink.
eyes
I
open."
can't
It's like,
move.
just
I
shut
can't
one
back out of
eye,
this
Larry.
room. Yeah, see, he doesn't quite figure that out, so he's just left there, not
But it is
looking,
scary.
probably hearing the doctor's words, like, freaking out as,
Yeah.
Sally is running around the house trying to find the TARDIS, and she ultimately does. So then Larry is able to kind of finally back out of there, and they're together, and they're able to get inside the TARDIS. The key is not working for quite a bit of it as the tension of the
Yeah.
angels approaching them as they kind of are looking away to try to open the TARDIS. So that's very tense. And and they're like trying to, and the angels are also working their, magic or whatever to turn the lights off so that,
Yeah.
um, to make it even more difficult to see them. And so all of that whole sequence is very tense, but they ultimately get inside the TARDIS, um, and they're able to kind of get it going so it can go back to the doctor. But it's a whole kind of thing. They're like, and it's going without them still inside. So they're like, no, like we need like to be protected in here, but we see the
Yeah.
TARDIS fading away as it's surrounded by the angels trying to get in. And we see kind of this interestingly like animated sequence of like the angels kind of moving the TARDIS side to side, like shaking them
Yes.
inside of it.
Because the
Um,
anytime we see the angels move, we obviously don't see the angels move because we as human beings are not allowed to see the angels move.
Yeah.
Nobody can see the angels move. So it's all
Yeah.
done in a static, still image sort of way.
Yeah.
And even this animation of the angels actively shaking the TARDIS is done in a
Yeah.
static, still image sort of
Yeah.
way. So it's really
Yeah.
quite cool and
Interesting.
effective.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. And avoids really bad CGI. So always
It
appreciate
does.
that.
It
Um,
does.
so yes, they're shaking it and trying to get in, and the TARDIS is starting to, move and disappear around them, and they're like, "No," like, "We need the protection of it." But as they duck down and the TARDIS fades away as it's surrounded by angels, the angels all end up freezing themselves because they're now in a circle. The thing they were
Yeah.
looking at that was blocking their vision from each other has faded away, and so now they're forced to all look at each other, and they're frozen now, so they
A
can't
trick.
move. Yes, so the doctor set this up perfectly to trick them. And that's how they make it out of that whole situation. So now cut
Yes.
to, Sally and Larry having a store together, and it's kind of a fun little thing that she had with her friend that they would open a store, Sparrow and Nightingale, and now it's still
Yeah.
Sparrow and Nightingale because it's
Like
her
an
brother.
agency.
Yes.
Sparrow and Nightingale, I think it was supposed to be, because she obviously
Yeah.
likes exploring and investigating and doing all
Yes.
this sort.
Exactly. And he's kind of trying to lean towards a more romantic thing after everything has settled. Like, everything's calm now. Shouldn't we just try to, like, make something out of this relationship that we've developed? And she's like, no, we're just running a shop together. And she can't stop obsessing about the doctor. And she can't stop thinking about what they've been through and trying to figure it out and wanting to understand it. Meanwhile, he's like ready to kind of just live life with her, which kind of just speaks to what the other characters who were thrown back in time were forced to do. They were
Yeah,
forced to just kind of figure out a new way to live life, and we've seen that we saw that they lived pretty good lives, making
yeah,
families and history and figuring it out. And it seems like in their time now in 2007, Larry wants to do that with her, but she's so obsessed with kind of everything they went through despite some time passing. And then as she's looking out the window, she sees the doctor and Martha. The doctor has like a bow and arrow. It's like, what is going on? And she runs out there and she says, "Oh my gosh, you're the doctor." And he hasn't met her yet, so he doesn't even know
yeah,
anything. And as he's kind of confused, and Martha's like, "Come on, we gotta go stop this thing." And he's like, "Oh yeah." And he's kind of still trying to have this conversation with Sally, because he's kind of taken aback that she like knows who he is. And as they're talking and she realizes he doesn't know her, she realizes that he knew everything he knew to help her because of her, that she's the one who gave him all the information. So she runs inside and gives him all the transcripts that Larry had written in that moment as she was talking to the videos of him, and realizes that she's the one who gave him the transcript so he would know what to say. So she gives it to
yeah,
him and tells him to hold on to it, remember this, for the future. And yeah, as she kind of gets a full circle kind of answer to her questions and realizes that it was already done, but she didn't realize like that this last little bit was kind of the last piece of the puzzle and that she was the one giving all the clues and answers the whole time. Once she
yeah.
realizes that, she's kind of free to move on. So she kind of, takes Larry's hand and puts her arm around him and is able to. So we kind of get the sense that like, yes, she's realized that she's the centerpiece of all of this, and she's the last piece of that puzzle that was just kind of continually unsolved in her head. It's now been
Yeah.
solved, and now she can move on and have a life like her friends kind of had to, force back in time. So
It's closing that messy bit of time that we
yeah,
had there for a year's worth of time.
yeah,
Um, it can be some of the most confusing time travel, I think, in movies and TV. I think your most simplistic time travel is a sort of Back to the Future style of time travel where it becomes a different timeline and then you have to
yeah,
reform that timeline
yeah,
into what you already knew, but then it's different because you've been through a bit of a different timeline,
mhm,
but then the rest of it stays on. Like, this isn't like that. This is something you yourself have done in the future affects you in the past, but you always had to have done this in the future. Otherwise, you couldn't have done that in the past. But then you also always had to do that in the past so you could do this in the future. And it turns into just a mush of,
yeah,
wait, what came first? I don't know what came first. Do we just leave it up to, okay, this is just life and an inevitability, and we're thinking about time too linearly, and this is why we
yeah,
get the timey-wimey, wibbledy-wobbledy ball of mass
yeah,
conversation that the Doctor famously delivers. It's why we need that, because we do think of time linearly.
yeah,
Obviously, we think of time linearly, unless you're a incredible brained physicist. I suppose you think of time very linearly, don't you?
yeah,
Anybody does.
yeah,
So this is what has always told me to not think too deep about Stephen Moffat's level of
yeah,
time travel conversation in Doctor Who, because it just
yeah,
becomes like, wait, how's that now? How
yeah,
does that work? I'm not sure. Oh, it's not really important. I don't care that much. It's more about the impact of it, and it is more about the impact of it. It's a
no,
wonderful, wonderful impact. And as I said, an incredible episode of television, an incredible
yeah,
singular episode of Doctor Who has no real bearing on the remainder of series 3. It could have come ultimately at any sort of time. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter in the grand scheme of the series itself, but is just a pitch perfect one-off. And
Yes.
a very, very tight script, a really amazing Doctor Who story.
Yes.
And
Yes.
much like we had last time with the Family of Blood two-parter, a very singular
Mhm.
story over those 2 episodes. I think it's almost when Doctor Who's at its best, when it feels most contained, I think, when you
Yeah.
have a
They can put
true
their all into a very kind
into
of
one story.
one-time story. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Without having to
and
think about building it out to anything that means something significant going down the line.
yeah, and look, there are great episodes of Doctor Who. There's certainly great episodes of Doctor Who coming, I would say in series 4, that do build and build and build things. But there's also some of the strongest episodes in series 4 are the singular
One-off.
concept episodes again,
Okay.
which I just think it always does work for any sort of sci-fi, because you can be worried about, well, how do we up the stakes? How do we take it to that next level? How do we keep
Yeah.
building and building and building? Sometimes we don't have to. Sometimes we just need scenario story within there. Make it tight, make it conceptually interesting, put something, powerful in there.
Yeah.
And that works. That worked
Mhm.
for the Family of Blood. It works so well for Blink.
Yeah.
And it is an incredible back-to-back that we do get there. And it is an incredible back-to-back we also get with the follow-up now in Utopia, the first of the finale 3-part. I do realise as well, I didn't put the little title card on the screen, did I, for Blink? Which is
No.
a little bit unfortunate. I'm going to put it on for Utopia, though, just so people know it's
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
And I'll give a little bit of a synopsis for Utopia while, Jeannine, you discuss your feelings on, or your awareness of, the character of the Master. Because obviously the Master appears for the first time in modern Doctor Who in this episode, although we obviously don't realise he's the
Yeah.
Master for quite a long time.
Yes, no, like, I thought, "Did I miss something?" Because I know the hand comes back, and you had told me the hand was gonna come back from
Yes.
the Christmas special, and so
Well,
I
the hand
thought
comes back again as well. Don't forget the hand.
yes,
It's not just
yes, so I
this
thought
episode.
yes, so I thought, was there something in that special that, like, alluded to the Master that I kind of forgot about? And 'cause how they brought him about made it feel like we knew him already, or we had met some inkling or had some clues about him, like some major things about him in the past,
Hmm.
so I was very much thinking, like, did I forget something that happened earlier on?
A very no, Janine, you are
Okay.
absolutely correct in thinking this, and I think if you think a little bit harder, you might have an inkling as to exactly who or what the Master has influenced or is. We obviously don't find it out in this episode. That's not the point of
Okay,
this
okay.
episode. The point of this episode is to make you think, wait, does the Master have relevance to things I've already seen in Doctor
Yes.
Who?
That's exactly what I was
And
thinking.
how does that? It will all become clear in the next
Okay,
episode, I promise you that.
okay, okay.
But what about the Master as a character? The other Time Lord, the evil
Don't like
Time
it.
Lord, as it
As
were.
I said, it's too much. It's too much bad. Like, I don't see how we can come back from this. I don't see how we can stop this person. And I like that because in shows like this, you never really feel the stakes. You're like, yeah, they're gonna get out of it. And yes, I know they're probably gonna get out of this, but I like this. I hate, but I love this like frustrating feeling of like this feels impossible. Like
I am I'm really interested to hear when, obviously in the next episode of Diving into Doctor Who, we are talking about the sound of drums, and I think is it the Last of the Time Lords? I think it's Last of the Time Lords is
oh,
the finale episode entirely. Um, I'm really interested to know your thoughts on how they end up kind of solving this issue, should we say.
Okay.
I'm not going to say defeat. I'm not going to say, overcome. I'm not going to say, get out of it okay. I'm just going to say, how do we progress on to series 4, essentially,
Mhm.
from this finale? I am fascinated to see how, or your thoughts on how that does happen, because it's a little bit odd. It's a little bit odd. Um, but what I think is something you will absolutely continue to appreciate is the Master's presence and the Master's performance. John
Okay.
Sims' performance as the Master, who obviously is who Derek Jacobi turns into by the
Mhm.
end of the episode. He's a very, very dynamic, very intense Master. Very much fits with the energy that Tennant brings to the Doctor, that sort of positive,
Mhm.
very dynamic, high
Brilliant.
energy,
Yeah. Yes. But
kind of
evil.
erratic energy. But it's all that, but it's evil. Yeah, it's all that, but
Yeah.
it's too
It's
overzealous.
skewed
It's
to
it's
the
it's a
power
skewed.
hungry, to the superiority. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which is, you would feel that way if you were a
Mhm.
Time Lord, really, but it is always fascinating when the Doctor realizes the Master is there, and the Doctor, at this point, obviously, is a veteran of the Time War. We know how the Time War
Yeah.
affected the Doctor, namely from Eccleston's run and all the PTSD he was suffering from the Time War. How
Yeah.
he was the last of the Time Lords, the race had been eradicated. It was devastating. Gallifrey, the world had been destroyed.
Yeah.
But now, here by the end of this episode, it should be a positive thing. Oh my God, there's somebody else, but it's the Master. And if
Yeah.
if you're a classic Doctor Who fan, you would know that this is never a good thing to have the Master around. The Master is a
Okay.
staple villain of Doctor
Okay.
Who.
Okay.
The Master is the evil counterpart of the Doctor. I mean, complete in the 70s with mustache twirling and heavy
Yes, I
eyebrows
was
and all
getting yes.
this.
I don't know if it was the British of it all, but I was getting, like, this immediate Moriarty kind of vibe from the Master.
Yeah, it is an absolute brotherly sort of counterpart.
Yeah.
It's the evil twin sort of counterpart
Yeah.
is who the
Yeah.
Master is to the Doctor, definitely. It might be a bit of a stereotype,
Yeah.
but I think it's played really well and really interestingly.
Mhm.
In this era, I think the Master is done really well,
Yes.
and certainly makes a massive impact in this finale too.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very impactful, very engaging, very
Yeah.
interesting, I think. Um, but Utopia, we'll get into the synopsis. Let's give a synopsis, because there's somebody else who turns up in this episode, isn't there? Who is a returning character who you quite liked from his
Yeah.
previous appearances, Jeannine. As
Yes.
Captain Jack Harkness comes into the Doctor's life again, the TARDIS is thrown to the end of the universe. As the last remnants of humanity struggle to reach Utopia, unknown to all, the Doctor's greatest enemy is about to rise again. Not the Daleks. It's not the Daleks. We're finally
No.
doing something else. It's
Yeah.
not the Daleks, for
They get
goodness sake. I
mentioned.
thought,
They do get mentioned here,
of
but,
course, they get mentioned. They have to get mentioned because we have to remember the Daleks, Master, and all this sort of
yes.
thing.
Okay. Okay.
Obviously, the Master has forgotten everything, isn't he? In Derek Jacobi form, the Master
Yes.
has forgotten everything. And I understand I'm jumping again right to the end of the episode, because there's no guarantee that Derek Jacobi is anything other than a slightly bumbling professor trying to
Yeah.
do the best for his people for
Yeah.
40 minutes of this 45-minute episode.
Yes.
I think it's a really great performance from Derek Jacobi, a weathered
Yeah.
performance, a troubled performance, a desperate performance, but a
Mhm.
hopeful one
Yeah.
until he realizes who he is. And then the
Yes.
Shakespearean power of Derek Jacobi is allowed to come out.
Yes, with Martha kind of accidentally cueing him to things and he probably shouldn't
Yes.
know. And also poor Martha again, we're getting quite a bit of Rose mention and callback here. So we're
Because of
turning poor
Jack.
Martha. Yes. And so we're turning Martha into, I was thinking of that grandpa from The Sweetest Thing when everyone brings up, I bet you miss grandma. And he's like, "Oh, grandma." Like he's so annoyed every time someone brings up grandma. And that is literally Martha every time Rose is mentioned. "Oh, Rose again."
Damn
So
Rose. It's always Rose, isn't it?
yes, so when she finds out Jack, like even Jack, of course, literally flirting with everyone, which is an aspect of his character I love. Man, woman, alien, he is flirting. I love it.
Anybody.
Um, yes, I love his fluidity of flirting. Um, he kind of, he flirts with Martha immediately on upon meeting her, and then when the realization is, oh my gosh, he also knew Rose and cared about Rose. She's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Rose again." So seeing another character love Rose like just as much as the doctor did, in Martha's presence is already just like, a frustration to her, which just I hate that for her. But yeah, I mean, Jack obviously is going to bring that up because he didn't really get to find out what happened to Rose. So it's a bit
No.
of a necessary catch up for him.
Yeah, I mean, he brings up the Battle of Canary Wharf that did
Mm,
take place, obviously, in the finale of series 2, Doomsday.
yeah,
Daleks, Cybermen, Rose turning strange parallel universe, going through the rift in the wall and all this business.
yeah,
Um, he saw Rose Tyler's name amongst the dead, and the doctor goes, "Oh no, 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 it's fine, Jack. She's fully alive. Her, Mickey, Jackie, even her dad. Parallel world. Everybody's
yeah,
fine."
yeah.
And Jack's like, "Oh yay, great!" And Martha is literally there on the side, going, "Damn Rose again. It's
Rose
always
again.
Rose all the time."
Yes, yeah.
But I
And then it
love
even
how is this not wonderful companion writing though? Because the extent of which you did not want to say goodbye to Rose at the end of series 2, and now here you
yeah,
are being very,
I
very
know,
Martha.
fervently defending Martha against mention of Rose, yes.
Again, like, forget Rose. Nobody cares about Rose anymore. It's
No,
Martha
I'm not
now.
saying that, but yes, I do feel for her when it's brought up, especially as she's not getting the same affection, and not really even getting the effort that she's putting in really fully reciprocated as well. So even if I
No.
don't expect him to love her as much as he loves Rose at this point, but to barely reciprocate all of the energy and time and care that she puts in for him back to her, like, she's doing all of these things. She's all in with him no matter what, and he's like, "Cool." Instead of really,
Yeah,
like, giving at least that same level back to her. So that in and of itself is just like,
I do. I do understand the frustration. Of course, I understand the frustration. It's incredibly, it is
yeah.
there. It's there from me as well. It's fun to see Jack back in this
Yes.
episode. I
Yeah.
think it's fun to see how he is back as well, because the Doctor and Martha end up landing in Cardiff, which we obviously saw primarily in series
Mhm.
1 and 2, to refuel because it's on that cracking space time, it's on that
Yeah.
rift in space time. You can get all the space time energy you want. The TARDIS then, can go on and voyage to wherever it voyages to. But Jack's clearly been looking and waiting for the Doctor in
Yeah.
Cardiff for ages, and
Yes.
sees the TARDIS and sprints towards the TARDIS like a madman, charges it down, leaps onto the TARDIS, grabs hold of it, and then ends up swirling through the
Rolling
time
around
vortex with
with
him
it.
just latched
Yes.
onto it.
And then they're inside wondering why the TARDIS is trying to go to the end of the universe. It's because they have this foreign entity on it, on the
Yes.
outside of it, that's kind of forcing it to go there, so, yeah.
What do we make of the end of the universe then? Because this is, I mean, this is an inconceptual length of time away. I mean, what year is this? If I can find exactly what year this is supposed to be, it's like 100 trillion
Yeah.
or something like that. It's a ridiculous, again, inconceptual amount of time away. But what do we make of this incredibly barren sort of place with these feral creatures
Cannibal
who
people.
cannibal people, yeah, and just trying to infiltrate this scientific facility where people are trying to build a
Compound with
rocket
any
to
survivors. Yeah, it feels like a
Utopia, which does it exist? It doesn't exist
yes,
really, does it? It's
right?
hope.
Yes. Yeah, it feels very like a Walking Dead kind of situation where you're like these
Yeah,
cannibal people are your walkers and you have your human compound of like the last remaining survivors trying to just make it. You have your crew kind of going out on scouting things to get supplies and see what's going on and get information. And all building to this rocket that they're trying to fuel to get out of there and go to some utopia that they're told exists. And so that's what this professor has been trying to do, is to get this rocket ship working to get them to Utopia. So he's kind of like the
yes.
wizard, almost kind of hiding in his little cave to, telling these people he can do this, them believing in him to do this, but ultimately him not really knowing how or
Yeah,
really thinking it's even possible, but he's allowing these people to believe because he thinks that hope is the most important thing. So,
yeah. I mean, look, there's the odd element of an interesting sort of refugee story
mm,
going
mhm.
on here. I don't think it's focused on as much as it could be, the whole
Yeah, I mean,
refugee
Martha
aspect.
mentions it. She says they're like refugees, like, she even says the words, but yeah, that's not an aspect. There's so many other things going on, particularly
Yeah,
with Jack's return and, once we get into the master situation,
yeah,
that we don't really, have time to kind of delve into this kind of bigger picture, relatable, real world kind of tangible concept, which is a kind of a
yeah.
bummer because I think it would have been a cool thing to put a little bit of focus into and say something about a real life kind of situation through the
It
show.
is, and this is exactly the kind of thing that Doctor Who can do really well. It's
Mhm.
exactly the kind of thing that philosophical sci-fi can do really well. Is
Yeah,
put
like Star
a
Trek does
sort
stuff
of
like this all the time.
exactly
Mhm.
put a refugee situation in a sci-fi in sci-fi constraints, and it really, really works.
Yeah.
It just isn't focused on as much as it maybe should be in Utopia. Again, just because you do have so many other things going on. All the stuff with Jack, you kind of realize the power of Jack as well in this episode that you kind of got inklings of in previous appearances of Jack. He is the time traveling rogue, isn't he? He's a
Mhm.
time hopper. He has his vortex manipulatory rather than
Yeah.
a TARDIS or anything like, as a ship or anything like that. He, but you realize after, when push comes to shove in this episode and the fuel situation becomes quite tense, the cannibal people have begun to infiltrate
Yeah.
the facility as well, and they're required to sort of remove this fuel from these highly radioactive tankers things
Yeah.
very quickly. You realize the power of Jack in that he's able to withstand all that. He's able to deal with all that. I mean, we've seen him grab onto the side of the TARDIS and just make his way through the time vortex and then wake up kind of okay at
Yeah.
the end of it all, not having been affected. Who is Jack? How does Jack have all this power? Jack seems to be immortal now.
Yes, yes, and then we call back to something that happened that explains why he's like that in him. He kind of explains how he figured out that he is like this now. There was that past episode where I think Rose took in, like, all of the TARDIS, like,
Yes.
energy and everything. Um,
End of series
and
one.
Yes, and when she did that, she was able to bring Jack back to life because he died,
Yeah,
and once she did that, it made him immortal, but he didn't know that at first. So it wasn't until somebody shot him in the heart, and then he died some other way, and in some other time, and, like, he was traveling through time, through wars and all kinds of things and surviving, he realized that that's what happened to him. And the doctor, so there's this kind of back and forth that teases it for a little while, like, he kind of, scolds the doctor for abandoning him, and, the doctor kind of says, like, very aloof, says his reasoning, "I had my reasons for leaving you behind. I figured you'd be fine. I figured you'd be fine." So then once it is revealed that he does have this ability to, regenerate himself and come back to life every time he dies, the doctor's like, "Yeah, that's why I left you, because I knew that you would survive, and also
yeah,
you are kind of this scary piece of time that is not supposed to be. Like, you were this weird
yeah,
anomaly that will just kind of screw everything up, so I really didn't want to be, like, too close to you, because it would just, mess everything up, so your existence is
yeah,
already kind of, a bit of a mess, so, stay far away, stay over there," basically is
yeah.
kind of what the doctor says, yeah.
But he look, he's being interestingly developed, Jack, and
Yeah.
he's throughout this finale as well. He doesn't go anywhere just after Utopia, and he will even return post this finale as well. So
Okay.
Jack continues to be this recurring character, or returning character for this era of Doctor Who, for this 10th Doctor, or
Yeah.
ninth and 10th Doctor era. Um, but being developed really, really well. He obviously also at this point had his spin-off show Torchwood,
Driftwood. Oh,
which
yeah.
was
Mhm.
going, which he led. So
Yeah.
if you want to go and watch that as a spin-off, you would get even more Jack if you really like
Yeah.
Jack and his whole vibe. Um, but it is interesting. It is interesting, the development of Jack, definitely, and it feels important. It feels bigger than it appears as well.
Yeah.
Like, how much influence can Jack have? Does Jack have any influence? We're here thinking by the end of this episode, has the Master had influence over things we've seen in the
Mhm.
past that we don't
Yeah.
know about
Mm.
because of
Yeah.
the odd comment that people make? But has Jack also had influence over things that we've
Ooh.
seen in the past that we don't know Jack has had influence
Is
on
yeah.
because of who he seems to be now, the power he seems to have, the awareness of time he seems to have, the
Yeah.
fact he can always be there and is kind of a little bit all-knowing.
Yeah. And he's
Who
the one.
who is Jack? We've never quite been sure.
Yes, and he's the one who found the hand, and it has been using it as this kind of
Exactly.
tracker in order to find the doctor's energy. So yeah, already connecting him to the very start of this new iteration of the doctor. So yeah, really interesting bringing him back in the way they do and revealing this new ability he has, how it factors into helping save people in this episode, but also how it's kind of posed by the doctor as this scary thing of him, like, basically screwing up all of time just by existing. So what kind of casualties and causations could that potentially have going forward, him just existing? Um and we get obviously to think about Rose a little bit as well, which is nice because of
Yes.
his presence there. So he's bringing a lot of factors, and a lot of things to think about from the past and going forward. So his presence here, I think, is a perfect fit for what it's looking like these episodes might be, and to kind of put a foot in the past and the future, of where we're going and where we've been. So
Yeah. Well, again, as any good cliffhanger style episode, it does just keep you thinking. It wants you to immediately go into watching the next episode, of course, but we
yes,
must wait. Like we've
I
had to
know.
in
It's gonna to be
2007, Janine, we
continued.
must wait.
Ah, well, that's gonna be me.
Um,
I'm reliving it because I not have no clue what is happening next.
well, exactly. Exactly. But focusing in on the Professor and the Master and the changeover from the professor and the master, which I think is absolutely necessary. And as I said before, so wonderfully and emotionally done
Yeah.
and performed by Derek Jacobi as well. We hear him throughout the episode again as this quite genial, means well professor
Yeah.
who seems troubled. He's got like weird voices in his head. He's constantly hearing the sound of drums, very, very
Yeah.
important to the master at
Yes.
this time. Is
Okay.
always remember the sound of drums. The next episode is called The Sound of Drums.
Mm.
But think here, focus if you focus on the music, focus on drumming, but anything like that. If you're hearing this sort of style of drum in the music of Doctor Who, the master may not be far off. If you're hearing this sort of theme, this sort of motif, the sound of drums is like the oncoming storm of the master.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
is the point.
Ooh.
But the professor's hearing all these drum sounds. He's had them for his whole life. He doesn't know
Yeah.
where they came from. It's just something he has to live with. It's awful. And he's trying his best to do all the scientific work to help fuel this rocket to go to Utopia. He believes in Utopia. It's the last hope of humanity.
Mhm.
He has his very loyal assistant there, Chantho, who is quite a fun little silly
Yeah, and
character, Chantho.
yes, and it's already establishing a relationship very similar to Martha and the Doctor, so that should
Yes.
already kind of be your first clue of, like, who this professor is,
Yeah, because
and
Martha and Chantho's little back and forth is
yes.
interesting, I think, as well.
That they both kind of express this infatuation for, their bosses essentially, and that it's not reciprocated, but they would do anything for them. They both kind of relate
Yeah.
on that same kind of plane of emotion, and relate in that way. So that should already be kind of a big, shining light to show you, oh, look how similar these relationships are, and just kind of the automatic knee-jerk uh positioning of a man in this position to have an assistant like this, and one
Yeah.
who ends up kind of developing an infatuated feeling. So that should have been a big clue right there. But yeah.
Yes, it possibly should have been. And Chantho is an alien. I'm not quite sure what
Yeah.
species Chantho is supposed to be, but she's called Chantho because she has to start every sentence with
Sentence
Chan
with Chan
and end every
and
sentence with Tho,
with though.
which
Yeah.
annoys. Does it become annoying? I'm asking you, Janine. Does it become annoying?
No, it didn't become annoying, especially when it's like a playful little thing that Martha ends up having with her, because she kind of
Yes.
relates it to, being improper and impolite if she doesn't do it, like, it's akin
Yeah.
to, like, cursing. So Martha kind of tries to have a little playful, "Just try it one time," and, like, just for fun, and so she does it, and they have a bit of a giggle about it. So once we explain that it's a part of her propriety in her culture,
Yeah.
that it's, like, her being appropriate, then I'm like, "Okay, it's not a big deal." Yeah, it didn't bother me.
It bothers the master when he's beginning to
Yes.
change, though, doesn't he? He's
Yes.
realizes he's become annoyed by it, I suppose. But it is no, I like Chantho. I like the relationship there between Martha and her. I like the parallels, as you've mentioned, between
Mhm.
Professor and her and Doctor and Martha in different ways, sure,
Yeah.
but in the very similar sort of he doesn't see me he doesn't see me
Yeah.
properly kind of way.
Yeah.
Um, but as it all gets much more intense, the cannibal people are infiltrating the fuel situation with Jack. Everything's getting really, really tense. This rocket needs to be fueled now. They need to start going, really, really quickly, really imminently.
Yeah.
Martha asks about this fun, or fun, it's not fun, is it? This interesting little watch that
Yeah.
the professor is carrying. I do realise we've also not said the professor's name, which is a very good point.
Yes. Mhm.
Professor Yana is Derek
Yes.
Jacobi in this episode. Again, wonderfully played by Derek Jacobi, of course.
Yeah.
But she asks about this little strange pocket watch that he carries around. Now, this is interesting, isn't it, Jeannine? Because we've seen a pocket watch that could be interesting not that long ago.
Yes.
Last episode of Diving into Doctor Who, in fact, a pocket watch was very relevant
Yes,
to
and
the family of Blood two-part.
yes, so he mentions that it's something that was with him when he was found, like, he talks about remembering being an orphan, and she's like, "Well, have you opened it?" And he said, "Oh, no, I've never opened it because it's broken." She's like, "How do you know it's broken?" "Oh, it's stuck, I can't open it." And she flips it over and sees the same kind of, swirly, timey symbols on it as the watch that belonged to the doctor in the last episode when he was trapped inside the watch. His true self was inside the watch, and he was living
Yes.
this human persona. So she realizes, oh my gosh, he's done the same thing. He is a Time Lord. And so she has to go run to tell the doctor who's helping, trying to get the rocket going.
She's like, "Doctor, this
And
is very important."
yes, and,
Quickly.
like, doc Professor Yana's like, "Oh, well, why are you looking at it like that?" She's like, no reason, it's fine. Uh, I'm
It's
gonna go
very
talk to the
interesting. Run
doctor."
away, run away, run away.
Yes, and so she tells him that he has a watch just like his watch, and, um, he hasn't opened it yet, and, uh like, the doctor refuses to believe, but he's, like, putting the pieces
Yeah.
together because he's, like, believing, there's no way. There's no way that somebody else could have this watch unless they are a Time Lord too.
He's
Um,
dismissing it as absolutely impossible, but
yeah.
it can't be impossible if it's there. And this terrifies him. It's terrifyingly
Mhm.
impossible. He
Yeah,
believes Martha. I think
yeah,
it's important that to know and register that he
yeah,
100% believes Martha at this point, but he's just not willing to believe what he's hearing
yeah, yes,
because of the implication of it, because of the seriousness, the severity of it. And this is when the watch begins to sound often, speak to the
yeah,
professor as well. And he's kind of tilting his head and trying to remember certain things. He hears the odd bit of voice in
mhm,
his head, ends up opening the watch. All the time, energy floods
comes out.
out of the watch,
Yeah,
and he begins to remember. He begins to realize who he is. He begins to realize that he has been trapped as Professor Yana for goodness knows how long. Now,
yeah,
at this point, he blames Chantho for this as
yeah.
well. He really
It's
horrible,
like, "I'm
harsh
stuck here with
words.
you and your dumb way of speaking, and I can't stand it and can't
Yes,
wait to get away from you," and he's so cruel to her, and she's just so confused, like, how did he change all of a sudden? And then we get as all these memories are flowing to him, we see, what Yana actually stands for, and Martha is the
yes.
one to remind the doctor, of what those letters stand for.
Yes. Do
Yeah.
you remember me all that time ago in that
Yes.
episode telling you to remember the face of Bo's final
Yeah.
words? You are not
Yes.
alone, Janine.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, yes. I do remember that.
I remember you maybe thinking that it meant remember you have friends, Doctor, because he was a very grief-stricken Doctor in the
Yeah.
early
Yeah.
part of the series. And
Yes.
did the face of Bo mean, you're not alone, you have your companions. Martha
Yeah.
is there. Yes, you've lost Rose, Doctor, but come on, Martha is there.
Yes, you can keep moving forward with somebody new. Yes.
It
But
was
no, you
more
told me to
serious than
hold on to that. Yes, you are not alone, as there is literally another Time Lord which you never believed to be possible is
good
in
callback though,
existence.
right? Good foreshadowing.
Yes, and I love that Martha's the one that reminds him, like, "Remember." His last
Remember
words.
the
Yeah,
face of Bo's final dying words. You
yeah,
are not alone. We get the speech of the face of Bo coming. You
yeah,
Y-R-A, not
yeah,
N. Alone A.
yeah.
Yana. And then Derek Jacobi's face going, oh,
Oh my
I'm
gosh,
not
I know it
Yana.
all.
Oh,
Yes, yes, and then we also are getting that call back to when Rose took in all of that power of the TARDIS, because that plays into, a Time Lord should never do that because it would be too much
yes.
power, it would change him, it would be destructive, he would be consumed by all of that power and be hungry for it in very negative ways, and so all of this is kind of to tell us that this is ultimately what Professor Yana, who is now becoming the master again, is wanting.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he has the very sinister line of "I am the master" while he's still in Derek Jacobi form. He then ends up breaking into the TARDIS because
Yes,
he
he
doesn't
kills
like this
Chantho.
old body anymore. He kills Chantho, yes.
Yeah. Yes, he electrocutes she has a gun on him and she's gonna shoot him, but, like, she cares about him, so, of course, the hesitation is there. So he walks up with her with these, electrical cables and electrocutes her. She's just enough power left in her body to shoot him, but then she dies. So now he's weakened as he breaks into the TARDIS. He
Yeah.
closes the door as the doctor's running in to stop him. It's too late. He locks him out, and so yes, now that this body is dying, he is trying to regenerate into a new body, and he's stolen the hand that Jack had
Yes.
used to found the doctor. Yeah, and so that's also there to remind us, oh yeah, regeneration. So
Yeah.
he can regenerate. So all of these little things are here to kind of remind us of like, oh yeah, Rose taking in all that power. That's what he wants. Oh, the hand regeneration. That's a possibility. He can regenerate into a new body now that he's in the TARDIS. Um,
He can
yeah.
use the energy of the hand as well, maybe.
Yes. Yes. Oh, the watch. Like we know what that does, and like who is in possession of a watch like this. So yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously fairly standard regeneration. Stick your arms out, stick your head up. Beams of
Ah.
light comes from you, and then I mean it becomes very different when he is the far more youthful John Sim for the last few minutes of
Yeah.
this episode. He does start bounding around the TARDIS, becoming quite
Yeah.
excitable, quite intense, very very dynamic, very
Yeah.
playful as well, which we should
Mhm.
mention. John Sim's master is quite sinisterly playful. You'll
Yeah.
see this in the episodes to come as well. Um, but it is a monumentally terrifying time for the Doctor, who isn't able to stop the Master
Yeah.
then leaving with the TARDIS.
Yes. Don't like
The
it.
Master takes over the TARDIS. Master steals the TARDIS. How the hell
How are they getting out of
are
this?
they going? How are they going to stop that from happening? That
Yeah.
TARDIS could be anywhere. The Master
Anywhere.
could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
The odd little line is said, as you alluded to before, though, Jeannine, to suggest that the Master has had influence in previous goings on
Mhm.
in Doctor Who. Martha even says, "I know that voice." Pointing
Yes.
to
That's
into
why I
John
was
Sim.
like, "Did I miss something? Did we see him? Did we meet him and I don't remember, like, as somebody else?" Like, yeah,
We have not met. We have not met him.
okay.
Um, There's a reason Martha says that, though. Like, there is a reason Martha says that. There's obviously a reason Martha says that. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been in the script, would it?
Yes,
But
exactly. But, yes, I heard her say that, and I was like, "Did I miss something? Wait, this is" like, I thought, like, I was,
yeah.
there was something that just, didn't stay in my memory.
So I am wondering what you think of that now, or are you genuinely not sure at
I have no
all
idea.
what that could
No,
possibly be,
no,
how
I
it
have
may be
no idea.
relevant?
Mm-mm,
What I
not
will
a
say
clue.
is it is relevant. There has been master influence in uh, series 3 so far. Nobody has known this. Nobody has known this up to this
Okay.
point. It was not ever made clear during the episodes. The next episode will make it clear. It's clearly just a big picture arc that you weren't necessarily thinking about, that may have happened here and there in the past, but maybe has just been breezed over. You've not even remotely thought about it. Maybe it's not even been anything to think about within each given episode. But the next episode will, I mean, it'll feel like it's retroactively fitting him in to various things, but it's kind of not. It's really
Okay.
well done, I think.
Okay.
And
Okay.
very, very impactful, very interesting. But yes, Martha has definitely heard his voice before. I don't see how she couldn't have. And he's a fascinating villain for this finale, and it does make a nice change to not be the Daleks in a finale
Yeah.
for once, doesn't it,
Yeah.
Jeannine?
Yes, it does. It's exciting. It's scary. I don't know where this is going to go. It feels very dire. The stakes are huge. So I'm very uncomfortable in the fact that like I I hate this. That it's so scary.
I mean, you obviously haven't seen the finales yet, The Sound of Drums and Last
No.
of the Time Lords. Do you feel at this point, probably ask this same question again at the end of the next diving into Doctor Who, but do you feel at this point like the Master provides more higher stakes than the Daleks do, even though the Daleks are obviously monumentally powerful?
Yes, because I think the Doctor has a familiarity and a superiority over the Daleks, whereas this is something he was not suspecting. So, beyond having it be a one-to-one kind of equal situation, it's also got him in a state of befuddlement and could potentially throw
Yeah,
him off as
yeah.
well.
It's
So
like
that's
it's
scarier.
trying to fight himself, to be fair, which
Yes.
is
And
quite
especially having to relive the Time War and,
yeah,
and grappling with he's not the only one when that was such a huge
yeah,
thing, this lonely existence he had to live, and now this could be, a connective thing, but it's not because this guy is crazy and evil.
yeah,
So, all of these really a big emotional stakes for him could definitely throw him off of his usual,
yeah.
kind of very, competent you know, capabilities. So, yeah, that's
And they
scary.
obviously know each other as well. It's not like, the Master has turned up not quite knowing who the Doctor is, and the Doctor doesn't
Yeah,
quite know who the Master is. They are fully aware of who each other are.
yeah,
They are essentially old counterparts, old
yeah,
peers from
yeah,
old Gallifrey, so they
yeah,
know each other in and out. It is a fascinating dynamic. I'm looking forward to the finale uh, as well. Interesting times, greatness, good,
yeah,
really, really good, top quality stuff on diving into Doctor Who with Blink and Utopia. Justifiably a great length of time of episode today to get into all that and celebrate
yeah,
it and uh, all the positivity all over it, I suppose, is what I'm trying to say. This is what it should be
yeah,
for these 2 episodes. But I think that's going to do it for diving into Doctor Who today, Jeannine. Not the only show, of course, that we have on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed. It does alternate every Monday with Discovering Dawson's Creek for our TV-based things. Morgan Hasn't Seen is there every Wednesday, currently in a Sandra Bullock series. The main show is
mhm.
there every Friday, celebrating old movies, currently in a World War II series over there. So do subscribe wherever you are listening to this episode, or indeed if you are watching, do subscribe and ding your notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel. But leave your comments on Spotify, rate, review, like and share wherever else you may be listening, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, any such other place. Support us on Patreon or donate if you so wish by finding the links in the description down below. And of course, find us on and across all the social medias, on the app formerly known as Twitter, and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at The Purple Dawn, with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at The Purple Dawn. All your blinking is where.
You can find me, Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search J9 Design on tpublic.com.
Well, I do wonder what we can do as an impression, a Chantho impression, or a very Shakespearean Derek Jacobi impression. It could be either, really, I think. Whatever you so wish.
3, 2, 1.
Very fancy. Bye.